is a series of short clips running through the operation of the various appliances within the caravan. Sometimes the switches and the operation of the appliances are slightly different from what I'm going to show you now, but the caravans have all got sheets in them which detail the exact location of the switches that are relevant, and by referring to the sheets you can find out where the switches are for the particular caravan that you're in. The first thing we need to do is to turn the battery on in the caravan. Now the battery switch is in different places in different caravans. It's this switch, it's labelled car and van. You push it down to the van position and that will then put the battery on in your caravan. Next to that we have a switch labelled pump. So that needs to be on when you want to draw water. Once you've turned the water pump switch on, water comes out of the taps when you lift the lever. One thing to bear in mind, if you're on battery and you haven't got mains hookup, turn the water pump switch off each time when you've finished with the water. Basically, the water pumps are voltage sensitive, and if the battery voltage starts to drop, the water pump could start running and flatten your battery. So in this caravan, the 12 volts on and off, the water pump on and off, the battery charging, the mains electrics hot water, and the mains electric space heater isolator and your consumer unit are all in the wardrobe. So in the caravans, most of the lights have individual switches on them. So that one switches on there, there. The kitchen light in here is a push switch, and some of the lights, particularly the bathrooms, there may be switches on the lights. There's also very often either a switch on the wall or a pull switch. So it may be a two-way switch, so if you try the light and it doesn't work, then you'll need to operate the switch on the wall or the pull switch. Most of the caravans have also got two 40 volt lights at the front. This is one of them. The switch on this one, there's a switch on the unit and there's also a switch underneath. Using the two 40 volt lights is a good way of actually checking that the site supply is turned on for your mains electrics, because if you try your 240 volt light and it doesn't work, then there's probably the site supply not yet been turned on. When you want to use the hot water, you can use it on either gas or mains. In both cases there's a tank on board in the caravan which needs to heat up. So you need to allow about half an hour from turning it on before you will get a tank full of hot water. If you want to use the hot water on gas, the control unit in this particular caravan is on the wall here. If it's not in the same place in your caravan, if you refer to the sheets, it will tell you where to find it. You've got a grey bezel with an off position and a flame position. So to turn it on, you turn the grey bezel clockwise to the flame. You will then hear the click, which is the boiler trying to light. If it lights successfully, you will have just a green light. If it fails, you will get a red light come on at the side of it. If it fails, there are 3 reasons for that. You haven't turned the gas on the bottle. The second reason could be that your battery voltage is insufficient to keep it going, because although it's a gas boiler, it does need a good battery voltage to work. And the third thing is check that you've actually taken the cover off the outside of the caravan. If you get the red light, turn it off and try again. If you're using the hot water on mains electrics, you've got a hot water switch. You turn that on. It's like an immersion heater. It'll heat up the tank and it'll be ready to use. Turn it off when you don't want water. There's no point leaving it on 24 hours a day. We're now going to look at the operation of the fridge. If you're trying to light the fridge on gas, I always recommend pulling some gas through the pipe to make sure you've got a good supply by lighting the hob before you try and light the fridge. The small button at the bottom turns the fridge on. The button on the left scrolls through the different sources of power. So we've got gas, electric and battery. Once we've got the gas selected, the fridge is automatically lit. The button on the right adjusts how cold the fridge is. So the more bars that are present, the colder the fridge will be. So once the fridge is lit on gas, you shouldn't have to do anything with it until the point comes where you have to change the gas bottle. If you have to change the gas bottle over, you will need to relight the fridge. Before you relight the fridge, it's always wise to light one of your burners on the hob, just to make sure you've got a nice good gas supply before you try and relight the fridge. If you're going to run the fridge on electric, you would select the middle option, which is the plug. So now we'll have a quick look at the cooker. The main thing to bear in mind is the lid has a cut-off. If the lid is not pushed right back before you try and light any of part of it, so that's the hob, the grill or the oven, it won't light because it won't let the gas through. I get some phone calls where people are struggling because they can't light the cooker, and invariably it's because they haven't got the lid right back. Once the lid is right back, you turn the knob to the relevant burner. So turn it to the high flame position, push it in, using the ignition, press the ignition, the burner will light. Keep the knob pressed in for a few seconds. There's a flame failure device which will turn the gas off unless you hold it in until it heats up, and then you can release the knob and it will stay lit. That's high, low, off. And one thing to remember is that you need to have the lid of the cooker right back, even if you're not using the hob. So if you just want the oven on or just the grill, you still have to put the lid back. So this is the fire that's fitted to the majority of caravans. There are two dials on the top. Sometimes these are reversed, but you'll see on your individual caravan just by looking at it. This knob is the gas control knob with a 0 and then numbers 1 to 10. And on the right hand side here we've got the fan switch. This particular fire is automatic ignition on gas. So when you want to use it on gas, all you have to do, make sure your gas is turned on at the bottle, take your gas control knob, turn it around to about 5 and you'll hear a clicking. Press that down until the clicking stops. When the clicking stops, the fire is lit. It only lights a pilot until you release that knob, and then it will fire up. And you can hear the roar as the gas fires up. Once the fire is lit, there's a viewing hole here, which if you get at exactly the right angle, you can actually see the flame. You can adjust the temperature between 1 and 10 by moving the dial round on the top there. On the right hand side we have our fan switch. There's a little slider at the front with 3 positions. The left hand position is a variable position, so by sliding it onto the variable position you can then move the little dial at the back between 1 and 5 and adjust the speed of the fan. The centre position is the off position, and the right hand position, which is the A, the fire will automatically adjust its speed to suit the heat coming out of the fire. Bear in mind, when you're using the fire on gas, it gets very hot, so any children or anybody must be very careful not to touch the fire and don't drape anything over it. When you've finished with the fire, turn the gas control round as far as it will go clockwise back to 0. The gas will then go out. If we're using the fire on mains electrics, there's a control knob on the wall and there's an isolator switch which also needs to be switched on for the fire to work. Once we've switched the isolator on, we can then move to the wall switch. The wall switch has 3 different power settings: 2000, 1000 and 500. We select the power setting we want by turning the grey bezel. The dial on the inside is a thermostat to adjust the cut-off temperature of the fire. The caravans with the bench seats at the front like this one, they have a small table at the front on top of the chest of drawers. Take the top handle, pull it forward and flip the table back. In addition to this table, there is also a freestanding table which will be stored away in one of the cupboards in the caravan. To put the legs down, press the bracket towards you, pull the leg. It locates as shown. You repeat that for the other leg. When you're actually folding the table away again, it is important that before you try and close the leg, you release the bracket. Otherwise, it bends the bracket and needs to be replaced. All of the caravans that have got solar panels on them have also got a USB outlet which you can use to charge your mobile phones. Please don't use it for any large items or battery packs, as they will blow the fuse.